Welcome to Being Intrepid, where we share practical insights from leaders who are shaping the future of talent and learning. I'm your host, Sam Herring. Over the past 2 decades, I've built and grown companies to help people learn and organizations thrive. Today, I'm joined by Christy Pletcher, Vice President of Learning and Development at UnitedHealthcare. UnitedHealthcare is dedicated to helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone. In the United States, UnitedHealthcare offers the full spectrum of health benefit programs for individuals, employers, and Medicare and Medicaid beneficiaries. I'm thrilled to share Christie's wisdom with our listeners today. From building award-winning upskilling experiences that develop both technical and human skills, to developing academies that upskill employees for the jobs of the future, and developing an AI learning strategy that delivers on employee performance and avoids settling for those shiny new tools. Christy is a dynamic leader who blends both business and learning expertise. She shows her growth mindset by constantly looking ahead at new innovations that can advance learning and operations at UnitedHealthcare. And in a world of accelerating AI-driven change, she helps her colleagues develop the critical skills they need to be successful. So let's get started. Christy, welcome to Being Intrepid.
Thanks, Sam. I am so excited to be here. I know we just talked, I've listened to several of your podcasts and I've learned so much. So really excited to be here today.
Well, likewise, and we've known each other and worked together for a long time. So this is a story that I'm really excited for our audience to hear. So, Christy, you have a really rich history leading learning at some iconic companies. Can you just to get to know Christy and the audience here, can you share a particular influence or experience that shaped you in your career as a learning leader?
Sure. Um, you know, like many, I started my L&D career as a accidental trainer. I was a subject matter expert at Charles Schwab, where I started in L&D. And I didn't realize at the time that I was sort of falling into a lifelong quest to be both a business expert and L&D expert. So I've been in learning and development for 27 years, but I've also supported operations teams at larger companies for 27 years, both at Charles Schwab and UnitedHealthcare. And I think that balance is really important. I didn't understand that at first. I had a leader who influenced that understanding because at first I wasn't an L&D expert, right?
Yeah.
I was a trainer teaching people to do what I did. Then I pursued a master's degree and really became an L&D expert,
Hmm.
but tried to tell my business partners what to do. What was the right
Okay.
approach? What was the
Uh-huh.
right way to learn, right? And so I had a leader at that time who was influential throughout my career. In fact, we're still in touch. And she really talked about being a business expert and being an L&D expert and bringing
Hmm.
that to the table for your business partners to truly drive value.
Hmm.
And that's what we're going to probably talk about a lot today because it is the central focus of my career and has been for 20 years.
It sounds so simple, but it is very difficult to master the combination of those two disciplines and bring those together.
It is. And I think it's L&D leaders talk a lot about how do we get a seat at the table?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
actually think that's the simple answer.
Hmm.
Demonstrating the value that you bring to the business, understanding their challenges and really engaging to solve on their behalf is the value that I think that we bring.
So on getting to know Christy, tell us we were talking before we turned on the mics about our podcasts and the things
Yeah.
we like to learn. What's something that you're currently focused on learning? It could be either a professional skill or just a personal interest. What are you learning these days?
Well, at the risk of sounding a little bit repetitive, professionally, I'm learning about AI.
Yes.
AI is truly everywhere. You can't go
Hmm.
to a webcast, ATD, any of the places we see each other at without hearing about it in every session.
Hmm.
And I think the reality is it is changing our everyone's roles, our
Hmm.
frontline employee roles, leader roles, L&D roles.
Hmm.
And so as a learning leader, to stay aware of that and ahead of that for a Fortune 5 company is challenging. There's a
Hmm.
lot out there. And Danny even said it in your last podcast. I think she described it as fast, loud, and big, if I got that right.
Yep.
Right. So, and it's really important to read and understand use cases and applications to weed out the
Yeah.
noise from the actual value that can be derived from AI tools. I think there's a lot of noise. I think
Yep.
there's a lot of trial and error that happens anytime we're sort of at the cusp of, new technologies as we are with AI. Sometimes I feel paralyzed. And so for
Hmm.
me,
Hmm.
reading is how I digest and learn. I just do a lot of reading. And that is true in my personal life too. I read a lot of books. Fiction, historical fiction is my favorite if anybody has recommendations
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
Um,
Very.
and Listening to Julia Louis-Dreyfus is doing a podcast right now, interviewing women who are later in life and the
Oh,
knowledge and wisdom
fantastic.
that comes with that. So super fun.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to look that one up, Christiana. You mentioned
Okay.
it to me, but I am going to look at that. And historical fiction. When I travel, I always try to choose a book that is, that where I'm going to learn something, immerse myself in the history. Or so, just when I was in England this summer, I chose a book about the Fens, which is the East Midlands of England,
Oh,
called Waterland. So if anyone's looking for
good.
historical fiction, interested in kind of the
Writing it
Midlands,
down.
Waterland.
I love it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, let's kind of focus on the business side now.
Yeah,
And you're obviously have a major role inside United Healthcare. So if we can kind of frame what's going on in healthcare right now, it's obviously top of news as we're
yeah.
recording in October 2025. Americans are facing rising medical costs, and and health insurance companies are as well are experiencing that. And there's an expectation that at the same time that patient and provider service increases. So um, there's this opportunity, and you mentioned it with AI to really improve both the patient experience as well as bring efficiencies in. So this has got to be a big thing. I know it's a big thing at United Healthcare. So can you orient us to some of the strategic priorities that United Healthcare is focusing on right now?
Sure. It is a complex, healthcare is a complex system,
Yeah.
no doubt. Let me just ask you, Sam, like last time you went to the doctor, was it clear what you were going to pay ahead of time for the visit? Was it clear how your doctor compares to others in terms of quality or
Not so
outcome?
much. Not so
Yeah, not
much.
so much.
Maybe because
Yeah,
I had a physical, I knew I was going to be okay with that particular visit, but beyond that, no, all bets are off,
no, right.
right?
Right. So it is complex, and it's becoming even more complex with, the current administration's, policies and bills that they're passing. Um,
Yep.
UHG's mission is to help people live healthier lives and make the health system work better for everyone. And I can say that it's evident there's huge opportunity in that space. And,
Yep.
as the largest payer in the United States, UHC is really focused on making that simpler. The way that we're really looking at doing that is creating that transparency, right? The questions I asked you were about,
Yep.
did you even know ahead of time, right?
Yep.
Oftentimes we select a doctor and we go, hope for the best.
Yep.
We get a bill afterwards, not really understanding it, right?
Yep.
So our goals, some of our biggest goals are creating transparency in pricing and value for customers, improving outcomes through value-based care, how we pay, right? Value-based care versus fee-for-service models.
Mhm.
And then lastly, advancing our digital mission. That will help create a lot of transparency that providers and consumers don't have right now.
That's super clear and honestly very compelling. So I love that. So let's zero in on that digital side. What are the biggest forces that you see shaping how United Healthcare serves its members today, and what are some of the things that you're tackling as an organization with digital solutions?
Sure. Um, I like to tell stories, so I'll start with a story. A few weeks
Amazing.
ago, we were having a party, and I wanted a cooler for our outdoor patio. So I went online, looking at a few apps that I have, right? Amazon included, right? And I was looking for something to be delivered in a couple of days. So online, I could compare prices,
Mm-hmm.
but also ratings, right? That other
Mm-hmm.
customers had
Mm-hmm.
given them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the value that I'm talking about is, are you going to the highest cost provider, but are they really providing the highest outcomes? Maybe
Yep.
not, right? So
Yep.
you might choose a 4-star cooler because it's $100 less than the 4.5-star cooler, right?
Sure.
That kind of
Sure.
transparency is what this is a norm. This is our new norm as consumers.
Yep.
We expect that we can find it, track it, know when it's going to show up at our house, compare prices, value, and know exactly what we're getting.
Yep.
So that experience exists almost everywhere today except healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So our strategy includes a retail like approach, right? So when you
Okay.
think about that retail experience that I described, how do we do that for our members? How do we do that for our providers, right? Making sure that the providers know how much they're going to get paid based on a
Yep.
member's plan and what the employer or the government has set as right the funding rates for those.
Mm-hmm.
We're leading the way in that transparency, and how our members and providers can begin to understand healthcare benefits before the experience happens and all the way through.
Right.
AI enables this tremendously. We're building our digital assets. Um, United or healthcare companies aren't really known for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you still have to carry on a physical ID card where you don't get to do
Right.
that at an airline any longer, right? Or anything
Right.
else. So,
Right.
right, we're using AI to really drive some of that transparency in our digital assets.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. What cooler did you buy, Christy?
I don't even know the brand name, Sam, but it's a great outdoor cooler that you can open the top up and it's all inside, but it also looks like a little side table. So it's
Y-
really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's so true, and you almost don't even think about it in other domains of our life, whether it's travel or e-commerce or
Right.
whatever it is. So, such a complex challenge to solve in healthcare, given the nature of our system.
Yeah.
But I think that is really what people are looking for. So that's fantastic. So let's now kind of connect this to your workforce with
Yeah.
this kind of digital transformation and that where you set the goalposts and where you're headed with that. What's the impact on the frontline employee? Maybe tell us a little about what this role is and how their work is changing, their world is changing, and what skills are going to be required for them to be successful.
Sure. Today we have so many frontline employee roles, but I
Yeah.
think something everybody can, really resonate with is our call center employees. We
Yes.
call them advocates, so you'll probably hear me say that today because they
Yes.
advocate for our members.
Nice.
And
Nice.
the challenge there is the easy work goes away.
Yeah.
um, Members can find more and more things online, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if it's something that's simple to answer, like where is my prescription, like can I get an ID card, they won't get those calls anymore.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, and we talk about prescription questions that people might have, it's not going to be, can I get a refill? It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be, well, why can't I get this certain prescription over this? There's formularies that are involved, set by health plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to do? Do I have to take the generic? Do I not? Can I get this different thing that my doctor prescribed, and why not? And does that require an authorization? And so there's two things really happening here for our employees too. They also have to learn to use more AI driven,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, hopefully easier tools in the long run. But the
Yep.
role of what they have changes. So the calls are getting harder, but also they're getting more tools in front of them that help them
Yep.
answer some of the easier questions as well. AI is driving answers based on an individual's plan directly into our CRM on copays and deductibles and things like that. So the work is just really getting more and more complex.
Yep.
So, right, they need different skills. They need
Yep.
to be able to answer the harder questions as a new employee. Think about what
Yep.
used to be a subject matter expert, right, or maybe a tier 2 type of support, now becomes what they have to do right out of new hire or
Yep.
right all the time. And
Yep.
that really requires different skills. So we're, focusing on things like empathy, compassion, digital
Mhm.
fluency, and problem solving. So that it really changes their role in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And And so much, as we've talked about in the past, like so much with the digital transformation for customers who are self-serving or members who are self-serving, they're just answering their own questions. So the things that are ending up on calls that are coming in are notably more challenging, more difficult. So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
makes so much sense. And and uh, and increases the well, I mean, this kind of leads us to our next part of the conversation is like
Yeah,
telling us like how do you how do you solve that from a learning perspective? And you've had a lot of success with a program called Drive to Digital. So tell us about that program, some of the what challenges sparked it, and how you've been what approach you've taken to upskilling your frontline.
sure. So, I mentioned both for members and the advocates, right? Their tools are changing,
Yeah.
and that is happening rapidly. There are releases on our app, every week. There are
Hmm.
changes to the advocate
Hmm.
desktop every week, and members don't keep up with that. They're still
Yeah.
thinking that healthcare is a send in a fax sort of, sort of industry.
Yeah.
And so it took us a lot of education over a year. We started this a year ago,
Yeah.
where it's an always on program.
Right.
And right, it's a constantly releasing just in time experiences. We will share things every week that are updated on the app. We will share different role plays and conversations where
Hmm.
how can you talk to members about using our digital assets,
Hmm.
whether that's a 86-year-old member like my dad who's on
Hmm.
our Medicare plan, around what he can find online around his claim, or right, someone who is in a doctor's office in the moment looking for something that they don't have answers to, selling the value of that really to our members to get them
Yeah.
used to going to those experiences, because candidly, people who are engaged in their healthcare actively have better health outcomes.
Yeah.
That's why we all have, Fitbits or Apple
Yep.
Watches, right? It
Yep.
When you're more engaged with it, like you can be through our digital assets, right? But people didn't expect that, and so no one really knew it was out there. So we've been on this journey to really educate our advocates and our members. But the last piece is around the expectation that our employees, our call center members have, and the reason. So the biggest reason they tell me in new hire classes that they come to work at UnitedHealthcare is to make
Hmm.
a difference for our
Yep.
members. They
Yep.
all have a story about why they might be here, something that happened to a parent, a loved one, um, right? And so they want to demonstrate that compassion and help our members.
Hmm.
So helping the advocates understand that we don't want them to just answer all the questions and say, hey, call us back whenever, but
Right.
instead help educate members on the multimodal ways that they can engage with us to make it easier for them. Was also, there's a change management component to it. So
Yeah.
our Drive to Digital, right, really incorporated all of those things: role plays, scenarios, examples, how to see what's different. And it's always on. It's happening all the time. We release new things all the time. And in fact, just a huge shout out to my team who built it and won a Intrepid Momentum award for that program for always on learning.
Well, that's fantastic. It's interesting too. We've just been talking as a team about this shift to more always on programs because we're obviously have innovated cohort learning, but we're seeing a shift across our customers towards more always on approaches without giving up the value of collaboration, the value
Right.
of practice
Right.
embedded in it. So it's fascinating to hear. And one thing I'm really curious about. And it is this combination of the skills, this kind of then overlap of technical and human skills, and I'm really interested in your approach, like how it's one thing we hear a lot of discussion around in the flow, and people get access to to how to respond to questions and technical and so on, but be learning in the flow and human skills is kind of a different thing. So how do you approach this combination of the technical and the human?
Yeah. So we've really changed our learning programs and the foundation of what they look like, as well as the
Mhm.
expectation of our trainers, that we changed intentionally the name to facilitator. They
Yeah.
still get, right, a trainer for their onboarding experience, but there's a lot of digital support, right? There's a lot of, and we've switched from people and content who focus just on the job role to people and content that focus on helping them capitalize on the skills that we hired them for. like
Right.
demonstrating empathy and compassion,
Right.
relationship building skills, and then apply those in those very complex situations. So, and then the facilitator becomes the coach. They're there
Yeah.
coaching and demonstrating how to get better at these skills of demonstrating confidence and at demonstrating empathy and helping educate members about a very complex healthcare system. So the programs become more and more universal around this tool feeds you the answer, right? Here's the member question. Let's just go through scenario after scenario. Um, there's a new tool we've adopted we can certainly talk about, but how we do that to give them in the moment feedback on how
Yep.
they're doing on those skills.
Yep.
They also then become more these skills endure. They can go to other roles, other call
Yeah.
center roles, at different places, and have all the skills and tools that they need to really be successful. So
Yeah, that's interesting, Krista. We've talked about that in the past, where you have this opportunity and challenge to redeploy a workforce, maybe across
mhm,
from commercial plans to say a Medicare or Medicaid plan,
sure.
and so it's the personalization of not of understanding the skills they already have and skilling and upskilling on the gaps. So uh, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting too.
Well, there's a great piece there, Sam, actually thinking about if we do get rid of a number of calls, those easier calls, we're skilling a lot of the employees to have that, deeper capability to problem solve. But there's also a notion of how do we help these people that we've hired if we don't need as many call center advocates in the future move
Yep.
into roles where we do need them. So we've
Yes.
built academies. We're calling them academies because a lot of them have the true kind of Burson style, capstone project that they have to do to demonstrate the skills that they've learned. We've created academies around leadership, data science and insights, AI fluency, where if they have a desire to move into a role that's different than where
Yeah.
they are today,
Yep.
and is our roles that we need more of in this evolving, landscape, they have the capability to do that as well and demonstrate foundational levels all the way through, proficiency. So we're on a quest to also look at we're only going to hire from within.
Hmm.
Our primary goal is to hire from within. It's unrealistic to only do that, but
Sure.
right, and make sure that the people that we've hired, if we don't need them in a call center capacity any longer, we're helping them move into a different role and different career entirely.
Yeah, that's really exciting because you can see how AI is driving some efficiency for member self-service and for advocate support. And so naturally, you'll see kind of a tightening of that pool of employees. But you've got all these exciting paths for them to develop their
Mhm.
careers and build off of what they already know. So that's really super exciting. Um, on the drive to digital, can you tell us tell us a bit about the business outcomes that you've seen with that?
Sure. So, with 50 million members, we get a lot of phone calls every day, every year. And if we can reduce the rate at which members call us by even 1%, right, that
Yep.
represents millions of dollars
Yep.
for UnitedHealthcare. And so, the way that this program sort of specifically has done that combines some things I've already talked about, and it goes back to what I talked about at the beginning around really having and demonstrating business acumen in the learning
Yep.
space.
Yep.
So we took calls, let's just say prescription calls, pharmacy calls,
Hmm.
right? And we've identified all of those different call drivers. Why do members call us? And said, these are calls that we could actually educate members to solve for themselves digitally if they wanted. And then
Yep.
these are calls where we need to develop those skills that are deeper, problem solving based, et cetera. And so
Okay.
the Drive to Digital series is one path around really thinking about the key reasons why members call and then educating members on how to find that themselves. But we also then have a very workshop style based program on pharmacy that also helps skill right to those more difficult calls. And so we've reduced our pharmacy calls by I think about last count was about 5% overall of those calls.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's pretty significant when you think about the number, millions and millions and millions of calls that we get every year.
Yeah, absolutely. there's some big targets there for
Yes.
business impact. Um, okay. So let's talk about, this other big topic that we've been discussing, AI, and specifically around what AI can do for learning, right? So we've talked about what AI can do is doing for the business at UnitedHealthcare, but um, we've talked about, opportunities for transforming learning operations as well as the learner's experience. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your vision for how you see leveraging AI, for learning at UnitedHealthcare.
Yeah. I would love to just take a step back and talk about how the strategy of how we think about AI, because the,
Yep.
big fast that
Yep.
Danny talked about
Yep.
can
Yep.
get overwhelming. So we've been on a
Perfect.
journey for the last year and a half where we've adopted the 5 moments of need. So
Hmm.
Bob Mosier and Conrad
Yep.
Gottfriedsen's,
Yep.
models and the enable design methodology, which really helps us, in corporate learning environments. We're not here to be academics. We're here to drive
Yep.
performance.
Yep. Yep.
And we start with that, and we've trained all of our teams across the enterprise. We're not quite done. We're on a quest to do that. There's thousands of L&D professionals across the enterprise, but we're on a quest to do that and have some really consistent methodology, because that really should drive the experiences we want to create.
Hmm.
How do we select AI tools that will help our call center, employees perform quicker, better,
Right. Right.
um, learn faster? And it really it's helping to be our guidepost, to serve as our guidepost in terms of how do we think about the tools that we need, so that
Hmm.
we're creating criteria on how we select those, and
Yep.
then not going after just the exciting and shiny, because there's a lot of that out
There's
there,
a
a
lot of
lot of really
shiny.
great and fun
Yes.
things. Right, but how do you know that you're selecting the right one that's going to be
Yeah.
enduring? Because it's hard as a leader right now almost to make a decision,
Hmm.
because you select something and then 3 months later you see, well, someone else did that and added something else,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So we are really working with all of our partners, like Intrepid included, around sharing what our vision and strategy is on
Yeah.
things that we want, specific things. We want an
Yep.
OJT coach bot. So on the job learning, when you take that first call, we want something that will help answer that question automated for you, right? And we're
Yep.
sharing that with our vendors so that they can help us move forward quicker,
Right.
with platforms we already have, because everybody's really doing it. And so
Yep.
that's kind of the
Yep.
strategy we have, is to work with our existing partners, make sure we're selecting the right things that enable the performance specifically that we're looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, the speed at which things change, like you said,
Yes.
Christy, is so fundamentally different even than like the world in SaaS, because we have frontier models
Right.
that are, opening up marketplaces and making changes. And there's a phrase I came across, just in the last week or two. We've talked about software as a service, and now it's being flipped to service as software. Like what you said is like, let's lead with talking to software companies about the service we're looking for, the outcome we're looking for, because
Right.
these things are changing so fast, and
Mhm.
they can be developed quickly too. So it's super exciting times. It's at a speed like we've never seen before. So
Right.
um,
Amazing. Amazingly fast. Yeah.
yeah. So you mentioned like the OJT coach bot. Any other example that
Yeah.
you want to share for something that you've already got out there that's working well for you, something you're really excited about?
I'd love to. We have an AI coach we've been implementing with a company called Zenerate for the last year and a half. We've taken weeks out of learning programs
Yep.
just by putting this AI coach into training. So, again, I like to tell stories. So, when I started at Charles Schwab, I was actually on the phones. I was a stockbroker. And today, 28 years later, I remember sitting with my headset on for the first time, panicking about taking that first call, right? My hands were sweaty, right? And after that call, I'm not even sure that I could have told you what the call was about or if I answered the questions correctly. Thank
Yeah.
goodness it wasn't some like complex, stock or options trade, right? I think they just wanted a quote. But
Okay.
but anyway, it was nerve wracking to say the least. So this AI coach that Zenerate has built allows us to get rid of that notion of practicing on our first call.
Mhm.
Traditional role plays were great in 10 years ago.
Right.
However, you were oftentimes practicing on someone in the classroom. Sam, you'd be in my class and I would
Yep.
say, "Hi,
Yep.
Sam, I'm calling about this."
Turn to your neighbor. Yeah.
Right. And it was effective for what we had
Yeah.
in
Yep.
L&D at the time, but it's not any longer.
Yep.
It is there's the AI. This AI tool just allows us to help people build confidence, get feedback by listening to themselves in a safe space first before they
Hmm.
submit it to their trainer or
Yep.
their manager to listen
Yep.
to it and score them as well. So this AI coach tool in its simplest form is we build personas and scenarios. We could
Okay.
build someone that says, you know what, Sam is going to be mad because he didn't get his prescription, and no matter what you say, he's not going to be not mad at you.
Right.
Right. And here's Sam, and here's the scenario. Go. And
Yep.
the AI will respond. I could ask you a number of different things because I know where you live. I could say, "How is it in Seattle today, Sam?" And you could respond. Or I could ask you a different question to try to build rapport, and it will respond. But we build the persona intentionally. They get the opportunity to practice, record it, redo it as many times as they like before they submit something to the trainer. It also, though, gives them an immediate score and the trainer an immediate score based specifically on the criteria that we've set in
Yep.
our consumer-centric quality model. And so some of the things that I've mentioned already, right? Instilling confidence, demonstrating empathy, educating the member, all of those things. And it will tell
Yep.
them exactly in the call that they can point back to where they went wrong and what they might have said differently. So
Yeah.
we've taken, like I said, the business impact around that has just been tremendous. We've taken weeks out of training for some of our programs, and over the last couple of years, saved close to $10 million just in reducing the amount of time we pay people sitting in training.
That's phenomenal. And the opportunities for practice and personalized practice at scale are really, really incredible. And you said 10 million, and I know we've talked about this before, Christy, just reading the financial quarterly results, for your CEO has put a number on AI efficiencies. I believe it's $1 billion
It sure
that
is.
yeah.
I own a component of that.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah, there's
talk
part of
about
that.
connection to the business, right?
Exactly, right? So you have to understand that to know what you're driving for.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, it's super exciting the journey you're on and the opportunities to both drive those efficiencies and the real prize is improving the skills and the member experience
Yeah.
ultimately. Um, so if we're in these super dynamic times we've been talking about, you're doing some amazing stuff. If we're to have this conversation 2, 3 years from now, what do you envision will be different about learning at UnitedHealthcare? Let's step into the future. What is it going to look like?
I've been talking to my team about that. And just like I talked about our call center employees, I think the biggest thing for us to grapple with, and we're thinking about it internally, is, you know, we'll need, we also will need fewer people. Some of the
Hmm.
easy work will go
Hmm.
away,
Hmm.
but we need people with higher skill sets, right?
Yeah.
And it's our job to help all of our teams get to those places. So, right, it's not just true of the call center I spoke about; it's true of L&D. And so, every designer becomes a performance consultant.
Yep.
Every designer moves from, AI will build everything for you in the future. I
Yep.
thought a year ago that we'd be a ways from, push the button and get a video, push the button and get an infographic. We're there,
Yep.
right? And so AI will build the content. The build in the enable model or the development aspect of ADDIE goes away, but it frees more time for our employees to be consultants, engaging
Yep.
to align, right, in the enable model, thinking about how do you develop that business acumen, understand the problems of the business that allow us to create more experiences that drive
Yep.
better performance. Trainers, I mentioned it a little bit, right? But they aren't trainers. They aren't teaching on their expertise, the job that they did. They become facilitators and coaches. I envision, right, dynamic
Hmm.
dashboards that say learner A needs to have a little bit more, training on how to handle these difficult pharmacy calls. But learner B really needs to instill confidence. They still don't sound like they know what they're talking about. Members call back and they don't believe them.
Right.
And so it enables this. Every role is different, but the exciting part about that for me is we're all a little bit more skilled and really driving that performance that I believe, again, is the reason, the first question you asked me.
Yeah.
We're enabling our teams through very specific AI fluency for, programs for them, but also we're launching next year at the beginning of the year, a whole new training job family at United Health Group.
Oh,
We are working to say, okay, we look at the ATD capability model as an underlying model,
yep.
but
Yep.
when we think about 2 years from now, what do we need our employees to be able to do? We're, funny enough, using AI tools to help inform us, like Copilot
Hmm.
and other things. But
Hmm.
right, what should that job look like in 2027, 28, and build it now so that we're
Yeah.
giving people, the target to move toward. And
Yeah.
so, along with it, we're also thinking about our own teams and what does that look like. So I think everybody maybe has a trainer, that is an AI trainer, for lack of a better word, that also goes alongside them, but will
Yeah.
never get rid of the human elements.
Right.
Right? We will always have someone who's checking in with them because guess what? That first call can still be scary. And like Simon Sinek has a great video about this. It just allows us to be more human,
Yeah.
right? The trainer is the human that's helping ease their nerves, calm them down. That was a difficult call. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just changes the skills for all of us, I think, in the next couple of years.
Fantastic. I love the vision you're setting out, and the fact that you're thinking ahead, and have concrete plans there, for how your workforce is going to change, in
Yeah.
learning, and always focus on those human interactions, that can't be replaced. So to kind of wrap up here, Christy, you've had a really phenomenal career. You've led award-winning programs, that we've talked about. We've got a lot of listeners out there, some of whom are learning leaders, some of whom are aspiring learning leaders. What's an important lesson learned, you've learned, about leading the learning function in a complex environment, both Schwab and United
Yeah.
Healthcare.
I would say two things. The first one is something that comes fairly naturally to me is right, always be looking for what's next.
Yep.
Right, learning, growth mindset, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Be engaged in the industry, understanding where things are going, and try things. Just keep trying, right?
Yep. Yep.
That is something that is comes very naturally to me. My team would probably laugh right now if they heard that. Of I'm always what's next, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but the other thing, and it goes back to the last conversation we had, is that I've had to learn over time is don't forget when you're someone that's looking to the future, how people feel and bringing them
Hmm.
along.
Hmm.
Don't ignore the human centric element of change.
Yep.
Right now, a lot of people have the question about will AI replace my job?
Hmm.
Right,
Hmm.
instructional designers included. Why do you want me to learn how to use the AI features of Articulate? Wait, that's what I do.
Right.
Right, but I don't believe that AI will replace jobs. I believe that those who can't adapt it
Yep.
may have to look for a different job. But
Yep.
right, but how do you help people understand that? Whether using the Cotter model, another change management model, right? But see
Hmm.
the imperative why,
Hmm.
help support them through that, give them tangible ways to grow, and examples to use and
Yep.
development programs to attend. Just
Yep.
going out and saying, hey, just use AI isn't going to work.
Right.
Having a strong change management approach and bringing everyone along with you along the way would be my second recommendation.
Fantastic. And you really walk the talk because, like we said, what you shared earlier, for the advocates, you've got a future for them. You've got leadership roles, data science roles, AI roles. So showing that to people, showing them, if you're on the mountaintop, showing them, what's beyond is, even if it's not totally clear, giving them some sense of what that might look like brings hope for people.
Yeah, that is the hope.
Well, this is fantastic, Chrissy. I always love our conversations. I always walk away, learning something from you, both what you're doing and how you're doing it. And you talked about that just now with how you lead change. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing a bit about United Healthcare's digital and AI transformations, and giving us, some hope in these times of dynamic change.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, Sam. Thank you.
Awesome. So, to our audience, if you enjoyed today's episode, you can follow or subscribe to Being Intrepid wherever you get your podcasts. You can visit our website and go to our podcast page. It's got all the episodes and everything you need. And so that's a wrap. Until next time, keep asking the hard questions, chart your own course, and keep on learning. Thank you.